everyone, in this video I'm going to show you the different components of the fourth axis, what you need to know and how to set it up within LightBurn software. Out of the box you're going to get your fourth axis assembly with the jaws installed inside the chuck. The two chuck keys, make sure there are two of them in there or you're not going to be able to tighten up your rotary, or it'd be very difficult. And the tailstock. This is more used for carving applications, but you might want to use it with your 6550 Pro or 6550. If you have a heavy object that's in there and it's getting a little bit of sag, you can use this to put some back pressure on it. So from left to right, you have your fourth axis assembly. You got the cover that covers the motor and the driving mechanism within inside. You have your chuck dial and your chuck, and the chuck keys go in these holes, and you tighten or loosen to bring your jaws in and out. Next is the jaws. These are reversible, as to put downward or outward pressure on whatever object you're trying to engrave. So you can have them go in like so, and this will be able to give you some outward pressure. So if you have a hollow cylindrical object such as a tumbler, cup, what have you, that's one way you'll probably want to position these jaws. And another way is so you have downward pressure and it'll clamp onto a solid cylindrical object. Now, when installing your jaws, it's really important to realize that the order of installation is important. So as you're lowering the jaws or bringing them closer together within the chuck with the dial, you want them to drop evenly. So that's accomplished by the teeth on the back of the jaws. They're machined in such a way that the first jaw you install, the teeth are lower, and then as you install the jaws, they progressively get higher up on the jaws themselves. So you'll see that number one that you put in to clamp them down is going to be different than the number one that you put in to have some outward pressure. So you have to keep that in mind. They make it very easy by adding a 1. So that'd be number 1 to put in. So when you want your jaws to give outward pressure, you look for the 1, and then that's the first one you install. I got a position. So put that in, and then you're going to have to make sure the dial goes over the first tooth. Rotate it to the next spot. And look for the number 2. We got a number 2. It's upside down, it's okay. And then put it in. Make sure it's seated properly so the dial can go over the tooth again. And you might have to loosen that just a little bit because gravity brings it down, and then it kind of jams up in the rotation a bit. Just make sure to always try to make sure they're loose. And then this has a number 3. And then you just go and bring it to the whatever you want it at. And another important thing to keep noted is always have the motor unplugged when rotating this axis, as you can backfeed voltage back into your control box, which can burn out your drivers in the box. Okay, so to install them in the other orientation, you're just going to have to slide them all out. with the wire unplugged. See, getting a little jammed. That's normal. And now we're doing outward pressure. We want inward. So we want the number 1 on the bottom. Put it in. Same process. Nope. Number 2 on the bottom. Yep. Make sure it's loose. Rotate, loose. If you constantly loosen that, as it gets tight, it's a lot easier to loosen it. The more you wedge it in there, the harder it is to shake free. Oop, I didn't make sure that the tooth got overlapped. So make sure it's all the way down. Give a little wiggle and go. And then now you can clamp down whatever object you have. There. So in relation to the wires, the original stock wire unaltered will work with the 4th axis for the 6550 Pro. However, if it does not, Tony has done an excellent video where he shows you how to alter and change the wire orientation. You can find that in the guide section under 6550 Pro, and it's at the very end of the troubleshoot video. Same goes for the older 6550 users. You can use that reference if whatever wire that comes with your axis, or if you have to use a wire from another rotary and it doesn't work, you can still use that to change the wires. You can also find that video on YoraHome's YouTube channel, and I believe we're also making available another wire that's going to be wired opposite to the original stock rotary wire with the 6550, and that'll be made available to the first batch of purchasers at request from support@yorahome.com, and should be included in newer batches of the machine. So as our 6550 veterans know, sometimes you have to get creative and to raise the machine over your rotary, and that's exactly what I've done here. Use some old hardwood flooring with the provided risers with the 6550 Pro. That gave me the clearance I needed, and I just lowered my laser down to proper height. Note that we are going to make sets of risers available for purchase, so you can have additional risers, but also be aware that if the more risers you add, the less stability you may have. You may develop a bit of wobble if the machine's moving way too quick. The plus side to these risers is they also work on our older 6550. Okay, not really set up to do a good picture-in-picture with the software and a visual of the machine doing its thing. So I'll just show you quickly how I set up, and then we'll move over to the software and I'll be able to show you where everything is there. So first to start, make sure it's plugged in. With the old 6550, you just have to plug this in, make sure rotary is enabled on LightBurn, and on the 6550 Pro also double check to make sure your rotary switch is enabled, and that is on the 0 position, not the 1 position. Okay, so I go by, first I start with a piece of tape, and then I'll draw a straight line right across. And you can either cut it with a pair of scissors or take an X-Acto blade. I find the blades a little easier or a little more accurate. And then, just to give you an idea what's going to happen, I'll do a test so you can see, and then we'll go jump into the software. So you'll see the X-axis move and then the rotary rotate. So that's how we're going to find our rotations. Okay, LightBurn and setting up your rotary. In older versions, it was under the Edit tab, down around here somewhere. But in the latest versions, I think somewhere around 1.1 and up, maybe. But in the last two for sure, rotary setup is now located under Laser Tools. And this window is what pops up when you want to set it up for the first time, and you're going to have to figure out your millimeters per rotation. I showed you at 40, which I think was the standard number that they just program in there automatically. But instead of going through the whole process of figuring it out, I know mine is 120 millimeters per rotation. It could be different for yours, so just make sure and double check. So as you change this number here, you'll hit this test button and make sure rotary is enabled. Your rotary switch on your 6550 Pro is on, and that your rotary is plugged into your Y-axis for the older 6550s. So when you push test, you're going to see the X-axis move to the right like you did earlier. And it's going to do its rotation, and in this case I have it stuck at 120 millimeters. It did a full rotation back, and from this point forward the only number I'm really going to have to worry about changing is the object diameter, which I take with my calipers, and it'll automatically calculate the circumference. So I have it set up for pencils that I engrave right now at 0.27 inches. If you guys work in millimeters, you'll be putting millimeters in. I work in inches. And so that's it for the rotary. And the way I have mine positioned, actually, to the left of my laser, as you saw when we were doing the tape, putting the tape on and drawing the line, I don't have to mirror the output. So the laser is going to engrave left to right, bottom to top, just like it would your wood or whatever you have. Okay, so that's it for that. And now down here, I have my enable rotary button on my laser window. You select that in device settings or settings. I can't remember. Enable, use rotary enable. Yeah, show rotary enable on the main window, which is, and it comes here. I also set to current position, and I use the center for my current position, because as I add say a piece art, say I want to engrave this onto a cup, I'll put that, and now the green dot's right in the center of this image, and now my rotary, now my laser is going to go, well, in this case approximately 5 inches left and 5 inches right. Obviously that's very large, and you definitely shrink this down for a cup. And then now I know I'm going to go about about 1.25 inches left, 1.25 inches right, same up and down. And that's that. So you would just orientate this as how you want it engraved. So if you have a tumbler and your rim of your cup is left of your center, your
going to want to rotate counterclockwise so the top is towards the rim. So we have 12, and then my rim is up here somewhere. So the top of the image is at the rim and the bottom is at the base. And no matter what, it's going to engrave in the proper orientation for you. No looking at upside down images or whatnot to confuse your brain, because mine gets very confused. So apart from that, just making sure everything's set, selected, you're in the right start from position. You should be good to go. I'll do a couple videos to show you what this does. Okay, thank you.
jungle.